Welcome everybody. This is Tips and Tricks with Google Slides. I'm so excited y'all are here. Some things, if you joined us when we did this in the spring, some things are going to be familiar to you. We've also added a couple new tips and tricks for Google Slides, and I am constantly learning as I'm going, and I will tell you that it was so hard for me to limit this down. I kept adding things and I kept going, I can't do too much. I can't do too much. So chances are you're going to see another Google Slides tips and tricks that are going to be a little more advanced coming up in the future because there were so many things I wanted to show you and there just wasn't enough time in an hour to do this. So we are going to get started. For those of you that are new to Mrs. D's Virtual PD, my name's Brene Duggins. I am the media coordinator at Oak Grove High School, which is in Central North Carolina. I've been in education for 17 years, and I have been in media, like the School Library Media Center for, that should say 14 of the 13 years, or 14 of the 17 years. I'm also the fire prevention coordinator and a firefighter with Holly Grove Fire Department, which is in Central North Carolina as well. I've had 18, this is going on my 19th year in the fire service, and all but one of those years, I have been doing fire prevention and education. So a number of years ago, I realized that so many of the things I do in my day job at the school, teaching PD, sharing resources with my teachers, I realized what the applications were to even my friends in the fire service. And so I started doing sessions not only in school, but through like the Fire and Life Safety Education Association here in North Carolina at our conference and doing PDs at some of our regional meetings. And then during the spring with COVID and the lockdown, I couldn't even see my teachers face to face. So Mrs. D's Virtual PD was born, where I can reach out to y'all all virtually. And I am so excited for all the different places that people have joined us from all over the country. And the cool thing is that you can go back and you'll be able to watch these videos. And if there's something that you see today, you can go back, rewatch the video and come back and forth and pick up different things. I'm going to go in and give you my disclaimer. I don't have my little slide in this presentation. Don't panic. I know that today I'm going to talk about a lot of different things. And sometimes that may feel overwhelming. It is not meant to be. What this is I'm going to show y'all stuff because some of you may have seen some of these before. Some of you this may all be new to you. And what I want you to do is I want you to go away today with one or two things that you can do in your own department or your own school. And so while you're going through today and you're watching, what things hit really home and you're like, oh my gosh, I know how I can use that. Those are the things to start with. And then you come back later, rewatch the video or look at the slides and pick up another tip and trick to try. So don't try to do them all at once because I know that is overwhelming. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is I would like for you to sign in, and I'm going to grab the link really fast and I'm going to put it in the chat window. So if you will sign in, this is how I do my certificates. I'm getting ready to send out the certificates from last week's session. That video just posted on my website. And so I'm going to be emailing out certificates to everybody that attended last week's session. You'll also get the link that goes to the slides and the video. And so that's how I do this. So if you sign in there, that'll get you onto my registration or like my sign-in page, and you'll get a certificate for attending today's session. The cool thing is if you're in a school system, you can send those to your professional development coordinator for your CEUs. If you're in a fire department, a lot of times, we have to be able to prove training that we're doing, especially in public education. And so this will work towards that, which is awesome. So make sure you sign in. So what we're going to be doing today is I am going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks for using Google Slides. And these are things, some will make your life easier, some will make your presentations more interactive, especially if you're doing things in an asynchronous fashion with the public or with students. And so that's what I'm here to do today, is to share some things that you can integrate into your slides that'll make them more interactive or even more user-friendly for you. I see some people, Iowa and Florida and Virginia Beach. I'm so excited y'all are here. So we're going to start right in. The very first thing is an interactive table of contents. And if you notice, all of these have links, meaning I can click on any of these and it's going to take me to that section of my presentation. So if I want to go back to the title slide, it's going to take me back to my very first slide. So the cool thing is you can even put like links down at your slide that'll bring you back to the table of contents. And this is really, really easy to do. And so I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit so that you can see these. And so how this works is you're going to be adding an internal or an external link. And you're going to use the hyperlink button. And so when you are typing, so let's say that I'm in my presentation and I want something to be a hyperlink and take me somewhere, once I click on the text box, all of my editing tools come up. This one right here that looks like a link, it says insert link if you hover over it. This is the hyperlink button. The cool thing is this one will do a couple different things for us. Number one, if I click on it, let's go and I'm just going to say external URL. I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to hit click link. If you notice, I can paste a URL like a web address in the box. Or right here, it says slides and presentation. This is really cool if I want to make an interactive presentation or an interactive table of contents that can jump. So I will click the arrow and I can tell it what slide I want to go to. And I can pick any of them, which is really cool. And this works really well, very similarly, like if I want to go back and I have a table of contents for activities. For example, like if you're doing, I have one that I'm building for, I teach a student media assistant class, and I'm working on an instruction manual for how Destiny works, how to shelve books in the library, both in fiction and nonfiction. The students will have, each slide will have videos, and as the students go through, they can click on wherever they need that information. Well, let's flip. Let's go on the far side. And if I'm doing this, and let's say that I'm making an interactive I'm the junior advisor for my department, and I'm making a junior handbook that talks about different types of calls they can run. We could have a tool identification section, all of that. When they click on that link, it's going to take them to the slide that goes to that section. Now, what's really neat is right now we can edit. In just a little bit, I'm going to show you where you can take away the edit rights and they still are going to be able to use the links, which is really awesome. So this one, like I said, adding internal links, you're going to use the hyperlink button. You can use a slide within the presentation, or you can type in an address from an exterior address. So it's really, really neat. The next one is something that a lot of people don't realize is available in Google Slides. This is the Q&A feature. And so I have a video on here for y'all that you can go back and look at it later. Now, if you notice down here, if I hover down to my navigation bar, there's a Q&A. When I click on that, can y'all see this window pop up? If somebody will say yes or no in the window. Did y'all see the Q&A window pop up? Okay, good. So when this pops up, I can start a new Q&A. When I do that, and it now will have a URL that pops up at the top of all of my slides. So now if someone types in a question, it will pop up on my window that has the Q&A. Everybody else that goes to that link, you can either type in a new question or you can like a question that somebody else has submitted. And then I can go back later or live and I can answer the questions that have the most likes. And so it's a really neat way to interact with your audience, especially if you are in a virtual setting like this. You could have that open and people can type in questions to you, even if, because sometimes they don't want to type them in the chat window. So this is just another option. But when you are live with a class or a presentation in the public, you can use this. So it'll be up on the screen and people can actually type in questions from their cell phones in the classroom. So it's a really neat option. And then when you're done, you just hit the no button and it will stop. So this video will show you how that feature works. The next one is image options. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of things that we can do. And sometimes we need to flip or rotate something. We need to adjust the transparency or even the color. And so these format options give us the ability to do that. So if you notice my Bitmoji down here, whenever I end up with that Bitmoji, I wanted her to be a different direction. And so this gives me the ability to flip her to a different direction. So I'm going to come out of the presentation really fast and I'm going to show you how that works. So if I click on my picture and I right click on it, I can come over to format options and now I have like a box that comes up on the right hand side. You can go into the size and rotation. So here's where you're going to find flip. You can adjust your sizes by hand, or if you know exactly what size you need something, you can hand type it in. This is where the flip happens. So I can go flip, or I can flip them upside down. I can rotate. So you have lots of different cool things. You can also change it by a specific angle. And there have been times that I've needed some very specific pieces to move a certain way. The next one under there is position. So you can go through and make things move from top left to center. I use the recolor feature sometimes when I need something to be a particular view. So I can change her to like a black and white, or I can go back. Sometimes I do this whenever I am changing the colors of bullets or things in my background or different pieces of a presentation. So you can adjust the color. You've got other adjustments. We can change the transparency. And I use this a lot whenever I'm making a program or a presentation and I want maybe our patch, like, or our school seal to be in the background, but me to be able to type over it and it just be kind of ghosting in the background. So that gives me the ability to change it where you can still see it, but it's ghosted and I could have things over it. So then I could move it and you can still see things. So that's the transparency feature. I use that one a lot. You've got drop shadows. You can change this one. This one, you don't see it. You see your hair move just slightly, the edges. This one works more when we're dealing with text and images. And also reflection. So if you look now, the reflection turned on, and you can see that she has a slight reflection down at the bottom. So you've got some options. So go in and play. The biggest one that I use is that flip feature whenever I need things a different direction. The next one's really cool. This is a masking tool. And if you use Bitmojis, this one is amazing because sometimes the Bitmoji image has texts on it that I don't need, or I need a picture to be a particular shape, things like that. And so this gives us the ability to change an image into a particular shape. And so this one, is a video that's going to show you how to do it, but I'm going to do this as well. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick an image really fast. I'm going to go grab one of my Bitmojis. And so I have her, but let's just say that I don't want all of this. As long as this is around the edges, so we have our blue line all the way around the edges, then I can go through up here to this crop image, but do not hit crop. You're going to come over to this mask, the arrow. So then I'm going to drop down and I can go to any of these. So I'm going to go to the shape and let's say that I want it to be a heart. So now it is in the shape of a heart. If I want to adjust her, I can make her, if I double click, I can make it large. I can make it larger, the heart larger, or I can adjust the picture underneath. So I can adjust her. And then I can shift her around underneath if I want to and put her down here in the bottom of my heart. So there's lots of options that you can do, and so then it cuts in that shape. It's harder to see the top parts because the Bitmoji's got a transparent background. If I pick, let's pick something that is an actual image. Let's go through. We're gonna go do a search really fast, and let's look for a fire truck. Okay, so here's one. We're gonna insert this picture really fast. Okay, so I have this really big picture of a fire truck. And so I've got the blue line. I'm going to come over to the mask. And let's say that I want it to be in a pentagon. So now if you notice, the shape is that way. Now we can adjust the picture underneath it if we need to move our fire truck over a little bit. So you have control over it. You can make it larger or smaller or zoom in, and you can also make the size of the picture. Let me get back to my edges. So I can go in and adjust it. So that is the masking tool. It's really neat, especially when you're doing flyers, to be able to mask a section or a picture or zoom in on something. Say that you're doing a flyer on checking your smoke alarm. You could mask the image of a smoke alarm, especially when you're talking about how to test it and showing that test button. Or mask the image of where the expiration date is, or the not the expiration, but like the date that it was created, so that that you know, okay, they can look for the date on the smoke alarm. If you're in a school setting, it could be all kinds of things in your handouts, instructions, focusing in on a specific image or topic. So like, yeah, all kinds of things. So it's really cool tool to use. Publish to web. This one is one that is really cool. If you are going to post on a website and you need things to loop, like a presentation to loop, we do it sometimes for announcements. So what it does is it publishes in a website format. And you could put Google Slides and lessons in there, or like classroom slides. I would not do this if you want it to be an interactive presentation, because what this one's going to do is it's going to give you a link or an embed code, and one of the options you have to select is how fast the slides change. And so this one's really great if you are having an open house, or let's say you're having an open house at school and you want something playing on a Promethean board or your projector, and you just want it to have pictures of what the class has done. Or if you have an open house at your fire station and people are visiting, we do this sometimes. You can have it on, like we have a Promethean board in the training room. So we could have photos from our department, or even safety messages that rotate. And so you could have fire safety messages that are rotating on the screen in a loop. So how this one works is I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to go down to where it says Publish to Web. Now I have a couple options. I said link or embed. So if you do the link, you're going to choose here how fast the slides change. Now let me go in and give you a tip. Every second or 2 seconds and even 3 seconds is a little fast if you have text. If you are just doing pictures, 3 is pretty good. The further you go, the longer it like just sits there, and people miss things, or they'll be like, oh, it doesn't change. So typically we do 3 to 5 seconds. If I have a lot of text on the screen, I'm probably going to do 5 to 10, just to make sure that people have time to read it before it changes. So if you do link, and we pick one, then we can say start slideshow as soon as the plater loads. And then when it gets to the end, if we want it to loop and start over, then you're going to click the restart. When you hit publish, it's going to give you a URL. And that's what you would pull up on a device so that it'll sit there and loop. When you go to that particular URL, the slides will just sit there and rotate. Nobody can edit them. There's no directions. It'll rotate for you. Now, the embed code, this is what we use whenever we are wanting to put it on a website. And so you can pick the size of your document. You can even do custom. So if you have a specific display size, then you can do a custom. Again, you're going to pick the auto advancement. How often is it going to rotate? And same tips apply. If you've got a lot of text on it, then don't do it like a second or 2 seconds. It's not, people can't read it that fast. And then you can say play as soon as it loads and then loop if you would like. So once you hit publish, you'll get an embed code that's what you put into your HTML editor on your website, and it'll pop up on your website. So that one's really cool, especially if you are putting, say you have pictures or examples of student work or participants work, or those, like I said, those fire safety messages, and you want them on your website in a section, and it could even say, hey, visit us to schedule, or visit here to schedule, or click the link below to do this or try this activity. You can have it say whatever you would like. So that is published to web. And there's also a video down here at the bottom that will show you step by step how to do that as well, so that when you're back from, whenever you go back to your department or to your home, you'll be able to go back, even though we're not here like this, you'll be able to go back and see how to do it. The next one is really awesome, especially when we are trying to accommodate as many people as possible and make our programs accessible to anyone. And this can be, we can go through, and if we're trying to reach an audience that's hard of hearing, or even going through and reaching an audience that is like, you can go through and set. So we're going to hit closed captioning. So like here, if you notice, I went to the closed captioning, pushed the button, and then what do you notice is happening at the bottom of the screen? What I say pops up. Now, here's the one thing, is that this is not going to record it for me. It's only going to be when I'm live talking to a group, it's going to show up at the bottom. And so this is really neat when you have people participating with you and you might not have an interpreter, then you can do this. And it's really easy. It picks up pretty well. And if you notice, you'll see it stops and it changes my words because it thinks that it's got the right word. Like there a second ago, it said stinks and then changed it to thinks. Um, and so it's really neat. I've played with it a couple times with programs and have used it. And I have a couple classes I teach online that I have had students that have hearing issues. And so I do my YouTube videos and I go in and set up my closed captioning. But when we are in a live Zoom like this, I don't have an interpreter. So this is what I turn on for them so that they can follow along with us as we go. So it's a really neat feature. You can turn it off and on. Another thing that's down here, you've got the pointer. So if you notice, I can point and it turns red. So there's a couple of neat things down here in the bottom that you have. So that's down there. Oop, I switched. So closed captioning, when you're in present mode, it will be at the bottom of your screen in your navigation bar. The next one is really cool. This is grid view. This is really helpful when you are doing slides with an audience and they are all in a particular Google slide at the same time. So I'm going to jump out really fast and you'll be able to see. So let's say that everybody here is in this Google slide and you can edit at the same time. If you have not done that with Google Docs collaborating, one of the really cool thing about Google tools, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, is that you can be in the same document editing at the same time. And so when we're doing that, sometimes we may give every student a slide to work on. And sometimes I want to be able to see what everybody's doing at the same time. And this works also whenever they're not all in the same room. So if I go over here to the left-hand side, we have our mode like we're in now, but we also have this grid mode. And so when I put it into grid mode, I can see all of these. I can go through and I can see everybody's slides at the same time. Now, if I go and zoom in, it's going to go to a couple or a lot. If I zoom out, it's going to make it even more on the screen. And as people are moving, I would see these boxes. You can see which one I'm in, which is the orange box. But as other people are in it editing, I would see their boxes and I would actually see them doing things. Like I would be able to see edits that they're making, them shifting things, which is pretty cool. So that is grid view. The next one is changing a slide size. And this has a lot of different options. If I am creating something and we're going to be doing something in just a few minutes where we're going to be creating an interactive worksheet. Um, a lot of times I want my worksheet to be the size that a piece of paper is. So it to fit the blackline master that I have for the activity or the worksheet. And so I need to change the page size. And so this will allow us to go in. So I'm going back out, I'm going to go to edit to the file, and then I'm going to go down to page setup. When I go to page setup, I can go through standard, widescreen. There's two different widescreens, but what we want is custom. And when you go to custom, we can go in and change these. We have inches, centimeters, points, and pixels. And so you can go in and make it whatever size you want. When I'm editing with like our website, or like Google Slides, not Google Slides, but Google Classroom, our website, sometimes, or even Google Forms when I'm working on a header, the size is very, very specific to that program. So sometimes I need to change it to pixels and then create in Google Slides. So we're going to actually be doing that in just a second. We're going to come up to this presentation and I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down, I'm going to page setup, and we're going to go to custom, and I'm going to turn this into an 8.5 piece of paper, and I've got it on inches. So 8.5 by 11 is a regular sheet of paper, or like a letter size paper. So now if you notice, it formatted it so that it does look like a piece of paper, and we're going to be coming back to this in just a few minutes. This one's really cool. If you notice, can y'all hear music? Y'all might not be able to hear music. I don't think I hit the button. But if you notice, I've got a countdown clock. So on here, I have a countdown clock, and I forgot to click the button when I went into Zoom just a little bit ago, so I don't know if you had the sound, but I also have music on this slide. These are great if you're doing an activity and you say, hey guys, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to turn and talk to your neighbor, and I want you to talk about this. And be ready to come back and tell us and share your ideas in just a minute. And then I have a timer for 2 minutes set, or like this one is a 5-minute timer. If you noticed at the very beginning, I had one that this one's actually, the one here is actually a 15-minute timer. And so we can have these really cool timers. So what I did with this and how this works is this is actually a YouTube video. And so how you do that is you go up to insert and video. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to say 5-minute timer. And you're going to see all kinds of timers pop up. So if you want to have a winter timer, you could have a winter timer. You could have, this one has music already. If you like Among Us, or if you have kids like mine that have Among Us, there's a timer that way. I just usually use this particular YouTube channel has all kinds of timers that look very similar. And then there's a siren at the end, which is really cool. So when you click on it, you'll say select, and it's going to insert your timer onto your screen. The other piece that I have is hiding in this corner. And if you notice, it was just touching the edge of my slide. There's a point to that. If you have, this is another YouTube video that has music on it. It's like happy music. This one, if you have a video and that has music and you put it just on the edge, as long as it's touching part of the edge, when you hit present, it will play. So this I have to set to automatically play. So how you make it automatically play, do you remember us right clicking to get to the picture, like the format options? This works the same way. If you right click or double click on it, right click on it, there's some options. Up here's the format option too. So when I click, I don't want it to play. So I can hit the format options and I'm going to look at the playback. Now I tell it I can either play on click, play manual, or I can automatically do it. If I want this to be in my presentation and to automatically play, just like I did, I'm going to hit automatic. Sometimes we want it to be on our screen and you want it to you start it. So that's where you would do the on click. Now, another option you can do is if you don't want it to start at the very beginning, then you can actually tell it where you want it to start. If I want to start at minute 2 or 2 and 13 seconds, then I can do that and I can tell it where to stop too. So that's a pretty cool feature on the on the video playback. If you notice on this one, when I click on the video up in the corner, I have it where it is on play automatically as well. So both of them will play for us. Okay, let's flip back. So I have, this has instructions too. It says that it's great for volume control. Let's say that we're in a face-to-face group and we are wanting to, kind of what I've done before in the past, being in the library, is I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to have music playing. As long as your voices are lower than the music, then you're okay. If your voices get louder and I can't hear it, but music sometimes allows the groups to kind of stay focused and not hear each other too sometimes. So that's a plus. It's fun. You can have all kinds of stuff going on in the background and fun timers. So I use the timer from YouTube and the music. And I do look for copyright friendly music. So that's another plus, is I do look for videos that do have Creative Commons licensing that are allowing me to use those. So just make sure. Let's see. Forcing a copy. Oh my goodness. Now we're getting into some stuff where if we have slides and we're going to share these with people, and this comes up constantly. I see posts on all kinds of websites and blogs and Facebook groups all the time with, oh my gosh, I was doing this presentation and somebody edited my original. It happens all the time. So I want to help save you from that happening to you. So we're going to talk about forcing a copy. This means that every person that gets your link will have their own copy of your presentation. Well, why in the world would they want to have that? Well, there are times, especially like one of the activities we're going to do in just a minute, where you want everybody to have their own digital copy of the file. And they can't see each other editing, or it could be notes. There down here we have fireballs, so it's a competition. It's like a quiz bowl competition for fire safety messages. The same could be, we have classrooms that have digital notebooks for their classes. We did some for our culinary arts classes in the past, where our honors culinary kids had digital notebooks that they would put things in. So they each needed their own. So there's lots of reasons why you would do this. When they get their own copy, they cannot touch your original. They cannot edit it. It's their own copy. And so what you're going to do is, when you are at the URL, instead of hitting this share button, we're going to come up and grab the URL here. Now, if you look right here, and I'm going to turn, well, I can't do it in this mode. Right here is the word edit. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete everything from behind the word edit, and I'm going to put in the word copy. Now, when I grab that link and I go and I paste it into another window, it's going to ask me, would I like a copy of this? And that is how you give them. So you give them the URL, that you delete the word edit and you put in the word copy. And so then when they hit make a copy, it's going to put a copy of that activity in their Google Drive. And nowadays, a lot of times, especially even with schools, a lot of schools use Google. And so students will have their own Google accounts. So it gives them an easy way to do that. The next one, and I'm going to stay in edit mode because I'm going to show you this one too. The next one is preview mode. This one is similar to copy, but they are not going to get their own copy. This one is going to give them a clutter-free version of the slides. It's not going to have any of this up here at the top, this edit stuff. So the only thing it is going to have is that navigation bar at the bottom that says, forward, back. So what you're going to do is you're going to go like you did for the other one. You're going to go from the word edit, and we're going to delete everything from behind the word edit, and we're going to put in the word preview. And when we do that and copy it and paste it into the other window, now it's going to open up the slides in a different format. And if you notice, they can't edit any of these. You'll notice down here at the bottom, they can jump slides if they'd like. They can go forward and back. They can also hit play, and every couple seconds it will change the slides. They can use a pointer on it. Now, this is great if you're presenting, because you can have a presentation where you are presenting and you can have another device that if you need to edit slides as you go, or things are changing and you need to fix something, you can actually edit slides on a different device and they will automatically update in preview mode. So that's a really neat feature. And then this one is an example. I've done a tiny URL for it that is already in preview mode, but this gives you an easier way for students to type it in. So this one's going to pop up, and it is, it's there. It's giving like their name, and the answer goes there. We were modifying it last time, so it's been changing. But you can see that they just have the edit version, or the non-editable version. There's another one for those of you that like those Bitmoji classrooms out there. Anybody out there like Bitmoji classrooms or have done them for your own departments or your classrooms? Well, this is what you want to do if you are going to share those Bitmoji classrooms. This is where you're going to take at the very end, and you are going to take away the word edit, everything behind it, and you are going to type in preview question mark RM equals minimal. Make sure I spelled it right. Yes. So now when I go in and I use this one, the difference is it's going to open, and what's missing down here? That navigation bar. So if I want them not to be able to jump, they can go forward and back. Or if you're in a Bitmoji classroom, you may only want them to click on what's on the screen and not just arrow through, because your Bitmoji classroom is going to have them jumping around. And so you've taken the ability to move away like that. So it's a really neat feature. I use this if you're going to post a Bitmoji classroom to a website or to your social media accounts or share with students. This is the way I would do it. So that one is preview minimal, and I have the endings and stuff here for you. Bitmoji classrooms and virtual classrooms, these are all the rage right now with people not being able to be face-to-face all the time. You can deliver content from one presentation, and it can be fun. It can have a fun feel to it. They're interactive and fun. You can make them on seasonal themes. You could have it like Fire Prevention Week or snow, or you could do it by unit. So I've seen Spanish classrooms do it by units and then talk about what that theme is for that unit. I have put you a link on the how to do it, like it's creating a virtual Bitmoji classroom. These can also be embedded on websites and used, and also shared on social media. Now, one tip is, if you're going to do this, like I said for the thing before, is use that preview minimal at the end of your web address. And so here's an example of one. This is my Bitmoji classroom that I used for the media center for our headed to or meet the teacher night. Was telling about the media center. We have our help desk, but I was showing people how to search for a book in our library catalog, how to put a book on hold, and how to read an ebook on the NC Digital Library. So when they click these three, it's going to take them to a video. If they want to go to the media center website or if they want to go to the NC Digital Library, they can click these buttons. You can make them as simple or as detailed as you want. I've seen some that look like the teacher's classroom, and they have all kinds of books on the bookshelf, and every book takes you somewhere. So there's all kinds of options here, and these are so easy to do. I've been asked to do another Bitmoji session, and when we do it, we're going to go even more in depth on how to make these classrooms. Fillable worksheets, and I'm going to show you, this is how we're going to actually do this one. I'm going to show you. So the cool thing about this one, if you use this in conjunction with Make a Copy, then every student would have one, or every teacher would have one, and then they can go in and interact with that file and answer questions and work on it. It can be shared through any kind of LMS, Google Classroom, Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, Schoology. My brain just went poof on some of the others. There's all kinds out there that can be used. So you can share these through all of those. It can be any subject or grade level. The example I'm going to show you in just a minute is actually ag. So what you're going to do is you are either going to screenshot or take your PDF and turn it into an image. If you have never done that before, I'm going to show y'all a website really fast. I know it's not on the slides, but it's one of my favorites. It is called PDF Candy, and it literally is pdfcandy.com. And so there is an option on here that says PDF to JPEG, and that will take your PDF, like your worksheet, and turn it into a JPEG to do what we're going to do. So we're going to come over to a blank presentation, and if you noticed, remember this is the one I changed the slides. Different size slides in the same presentation? No. So Google Slides, you have to stay the same. In Google Docs, you can actually switch between landscape and portrait. Doing the interactive worksheets in Google Docs is possible, but it is not as user-friendly. So the question was, is it possible to have different size slides in the same presentation? That's where I would do them. If you're doing an interactive classroom, you could have a link to each one, but that is one of the downsides. So there's some ways around like what your slides would look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to insert, and we're going to insert an image. And then I have this already saved on my computer. So I'm going to go to my desktop. And this is an activity that our ag teacher is going to be doing. So we're going to use this first one. So we have two options. You could go through and we could just put it on there. Well, if I do that, somebody can move it, right? Well, that's not going to do me any good. So I'm going to show you that what I recommend is that you put your worksheet in the background. So when you do that, you right click and hit change background. From there, you're going to hit choose image. And then we're going to go grab that file. So we're going to grab this identifying pictures on a flower. So now if you notice, I can click all I want and there's not anything that I can do. So now what we're going to do, and I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see, is there's two ways you can do this. We can go in with a text box and make a text box, but kids can't see that it's there. So, and they can grab edges, they can all mess with it. What I like to do is I like to insert a table, and I'm just going to do one. So I'm going to move my table and make one table here. Oh, and it's down just a little bit, so we're going to fix it. Oh, wait a minute, I got to change my size of my font. And my worksheet, I would do some cropping so it would be a little bit easier. One of the other things you can do here is kids can't really see that. So we can fill the color. And this is what I do for a lot of them, is I will say, type in anywhere you see pink, that's where you need to put an answer. So this is an identification one. And the cool thing is all those boxes are like the same size. So we can go through and copy and paste and move them to like all the different ones that we need to. So then we can go through and make our worksheet. If, like you noticed, like this one, I'm going to go in and tell you, like, I would probably go through, see how there's so much white edge around the outside? I would go in on my picture. We're going to go to my desktop. I would go into this and go in and crop it a little bit smaller beforehand. And doing that allows me to have the items bigger on the screen whenever I put it on the worksheet. So then it's a little bit closer. And so that would actually make it bigger, or you could crop different sections when you put it in the background. So that's something to play with. It makes it really cool. And then whenever you share this, remember, delete edit and put in copy, and then every kid will have their own worksheet that they can do. This one's really cool. Like NFPA has the what's hot, what's not. They also have one that is it hot, can get hot, or not hot. And that's one for your beginning readers. And you could go in and use that worksheet, put it in the background, and then put those boxes on top underneath, like on the answer lines, where the kids will write not hot, hot, sometimes hot. And so they can just type that in, which it makes it really simple. That's the fillable worksheets, and there is there's a YouTube video that shows you how to do that with Google Slides. So it'll step you through that. The next one are interactive slides. These can be shared in Google Classroom, Canvas, any learning management system you have. You can create games like a right versus wrong answer. And if they get right, they can go to the next slide. If it's wrong, it could go back to reteach a section and let them try it again. It could be interactive boards, choice boards, identification, vocabulary, very similar like what we did. There is a YouTube video on how to do that, and also one about how to create drag and drop activities. So if you have the answer choices off to the sides, then the students can literally drag the answers over to the right sections. These are great when you're on a Promethean board or a smart board or an interactive board or even a tablet where they can manipulate and interact with them. So you've got YouTube videos on how to do that. This one is is like a mock blog that my students did. And so what they did is in presentation mode, they get it in presentation mode. And so this is what they see is this takes them, remember how we did those hyperlinks? That's what this does is each one of these takes them to an activity or a lesson. And so they go through and they watch a video, they see the instructions. It may take them, they were creating these mock blogs and it looked like a blog format on the form. And so it takes them to those instructions or the video that explains, and they get to pick what sections they do. So these are pretty cool. It takes a number of the things that we've done today and puts them all together because each one of these, if you notice, is a hyperlink. So it's underlined. So when I click on it, I have went up to that link and I've added a link somewhere. So these are pretty cool ways. One of the last things is slide templates. A lot of people ask me about slide templates. You'll notice that the one that I have here is from Slide Mania. Slides Carnival was one that I used to use all the time. I use Slide Mania a lot now because they have so many interactive presentations and templates. If you go under education, those interactive templates, there's manipulatives, choice boards, and games. I'm going to jump to this one really fast. Everything on this page is free, which is amazing. I'm love them because it's all free. And you know, like here's one that's really cool. This true false one. All the template is made for you. And this is one of those interactive games where you go through and the students will pick a question. When they pick a question, you'll have the answer here or the question here, the statement. Well, is it true or false? If it's true, you hit that, if it's yes or if it's not. And then you'll go next, it'll take you back to do another question. If it was wrong, it'll tell us why it was false, or it may show us a video on what the question was about so that you could learn something. And all you have to do, this is great for review questions. This is great for fire safety questions. And you can post these on your website and let people interact with them. So it's really neat. And it's all free. You just go in and you customize it with your information, which is awesome. There are game boards. There's like Jeopardy style ones. There's all kinds of stuff on these templates. So go check it out, look at it. Slides Go is another one that's completely free that has all kinds of stuff. There are really not as many of the games on this one. This is more just presentation like looks. This one has an interactive folder. Um, so go through and look. It gives a different look. It spices up your presentations. All of my presentations have that type of look to them. They're a little bit fun, they're interactive a lot of times, and it gets people's attention and keeps it a little bit better. So a couple more things on tips and tricks. There's so much more out there than we had time today to talk about. So I put 4 links on here for you. There's one from Shake Up Learning, one from Sketchbubble, Ditch That Textbook. He's amazing. And then We Are Teachers. There's one specifically on Google Slides. So all of these will take you to even more tips and tricks for Google Slides. The big thing is go play. Tinker with it. You can't mess it up. You can always go back and do the undo button. You can make yourself a copy of a presentation and then go mess with it and see, and you'll have that original one. So you've got all kinds of options here. So when you get your presentation, like you get the email, go play with this and look at some of these. I want to thank y'all for being here today. My email is on the page. You can email me at my school email or my fire department email, and that is my Twitter handle. Also, if you've never visited Mrs. D's virtual PD, my website is busybeebree.com. And so if you go there, this is where I have all of my videos are posted. So when you come here, you'll go down and you'll see videos. The session recordings are there, handouts or the slides. And then if you go back and you access a session at a later date and you don't do one live with me, or you see one that you missed before and you want to go back and do it, you can actually complete the CEU form and it'll do your certificate from doing the session online. So this is where you'll find the session that we're doing right now will be posted on my website next week. And so you'll see it pop up on here. So that's a really cool way. Come check it out. Also, you'll see upcoming sessions. This is where you can go to see what sessions are coming up and register with those.